Okay, so now let's have a look at this question. This question requires us to validate a given phone number, which means that any given phone number, so let's say 9903, let's say 683702 or something like this, 791, anything. So the point is that if a given phone number is there, then you have to see that whether this phone number is valid or not. Now, what is the definition of a valid phone number? First of all, it should be 10 digits. Secondly, it is provided that no international code is given. It is provided that only digits are given. Only not only digits are given. It is provided that international codes are not given. That is given. Apart from that, let's say spaces are like this or like this. Anything can be there, so it should not matter. Both should be valid. Apart from that, it can have additional spaces. It can have hyphens. It can have hyphens like this, uh, or like this. Anyway, it can have hyphen. It can have, let's say, in some countries, this first three is area code, something like this, which means that essentially what you have to do is that, given that it contains only phone numbers, not country code, but it can have some groupings, some hyphens, some parents, all those things. It can have spaces, it can have, you have to somehow still check that whether it is a valid phone number or not, which means that whether it is a 10 digit phone number or not. One more thing can happen, that let's say if it is something like starting with 0, then also it is not valid, which means that it should be 10 digits long, and the digits itself should be 10 digits long, and it cannot start with 0, and 1 through 9 it can start through any of them, but it cannot start with 0. So that is all, which means that let's say something like this I say, then I am saying that yeah, it is false, which means that this returns false if it is invalid. And let's say something like this is there, 890, then it is true, which means that it is a valid phone number. Now you can say that this is valid, this is valid, right? This thing is also valid, so let's say something like this thing is also valid, but if something like this, less digits are there or more digits are there, then these are invalid. So you can understand that what is the requirement. So please go ahead and implement this solution. You can pause this video now and you can implement this solution. So let's take one standard format. So something like this, let's say we are just taking parents around area code and something like this. Yeah, so let's say, and right now it will not print anything because let's say this s is there, but it is not returning anything. So for that matter, if I print, then obviously this thing will be printed, but undefined will be returned. That is fine. But what we want to do in the solution function is that firstly we have to remove all these characters which are non digits, which are non numbers, right? Those I have to remove. So what I can do is that I can do s is equal to s dot replace, and we have to replace, so you'll use a regular function, sorry, regular expression, where I'm going to use slash t. Slash t is for digits. I have to replace everything which is not a digit. So caret will be there for not digits. Everything which is not a digit I have to replace, and globally I have to replace everything. I have to replace. That's why slash g. Apart from that, this is just one digit. This is just one digit, right? What I'm interested in is that wherever whether it is one or more, all I have to digit, and slash g, which means that globally I have to remove, and then there is a empty string, which means that it has to be replaced with empty string. So let's see that what happens. Now you can see that everything is removed. Okay, so only digits will be there, nothing else will be there, though if you have something like this, let's say 090, then also it will come, which is invalid, we know, right? But still it will come. But still, whatever it is coming, it will be definitely, it will be definitely only digits. Okay, so till that it is fine. So next what we can simply do is that we can simply return s dot length, is equal to 10. So which, if this string, we know that only digits will be there. If this length is, let's consider now a non starting with 0. So if this is there, then you can see that this is true. So this is a valid number, right? Because only digits are there, and the digits length is 10. But if we have something like 090, then we know that it should not start, it is still giving true, it should not give true, right? So what we can do, that it should be 10, and at the same time it should not also start with 0. So s dot, it says starts with 0, and I'm saying that it should not start with 0. S dot starts with 0. By this argument, if it does not start with 0 and still it is string of length 10, then it is a valid phone number. So in this case, you can see that right now it is saying that no, it is invalid because it's starting with 0. But if it is starting with something other, then it is true. Okay, and now you can see that anything else will work. So something like this, anything is fine, it is still true. This thing is also true. Okay, but let's say number of digits is wrong, less or more, then it will be false. So we are in pretty much good shape. You can see that very simple solution. But let's now see with a few more test cases. Yeah, so now let's take some examples from our test cases. So this is a URL which I'll provide in the description. It has a few test cases for this problem. It essentially says that these phone numbers, from phone number 1 to phone number 5, these are like valid. And if you have something like this, or let's say XYZ or anything, in this particular case you are seeing that uh, it is not 10 digits. So yeah, that is one condition where it should not be valid. Apart from that, you can clearly see that yeah, so you can see that this thing can also be written as something like this is equal to true, but no need to write, right? Because in case of assert, whatever is the first argument, if that thing is true, then it says that it is fine. If it is false, then it says that it is assertion error, right? So if it is expected to be true and it is true, then it is fine, right? Similarly, in the last case, you could also write not this, or this is equal to false, right? If you write this is equal to false, which means that when this thing is false, then the whole thing is true, and that is what we want, right? But the same thing can be achieved like this also, that now when this thing is false, not of that is true, so which means that is true. So in this case, what will happen, that if this thing will turn out, solution ph5, if this thing will turn out to be true, then not of that will be false, and then the assertion will fail, and that is what we expected, right? But let's run this and we'll see that it's done, which means that no assertion has failed. So that is pretty much it, which means that our solution is working perfectly fine. Okay, so that will be all for this video.